we assign credibility to a few groups of people. We put them up on pedestals, we revere them. Doctors, astronauts, professional athletes, celebrities, whether they're in Hollywood or Washington, D.C. And then somewhere along the lines, we put authors into that world. So if you want to sell more of your counseling services, coaching services, bookkeeping services, if you want to land on more stages, sell more books, serve more clients, man, writing a book is the single best way to enhance your credibility and claim that you are a thought leader in your defined space.
Hello, welcome back to Beyond Your Books, a small business podcast. I'm Mark Tuggle, the owner of Telos Bookkeeping and host of this podcast. And I'm excited to introduce my first guest on this podcast. It is Marcus Constantino. Marcus is an author, a writing coach, a serial entrepreneur, marketer, and an excellent gourmet cook. And I'll let Marcus provide further introduction to himself, and then we'll get into his journey as a business owner. Marcus, welcome.
Mark, thanks so much for having me today. I appreciate the honor of being with you and talking with your constituents. Let me begin with this. I do hail from Massachusetts, which affords me the privilege of being both a Patriots fan and a Red Sox fan. And it's been a pretty good couple of decades for us, I'm just saying. Business is good in Massachusetts. And on that business front, appreciating Beyond Your Books, I've enjoyed a business career since college. I thought I was going to do something else, studied biblical studies and youth ministry, took an accounting class and fell in love. Got my first A in college in an accounting class. And then that just moved me into economics and small business and law, and I just couldn't get enough of it. So it's fun for me to be able to be working as a business consultant, primarily in the book publishing world, but also with nonprofits and small business startups, doing as many different things as I possibly can, all the things that I can possibly learn so that I can expend myself in service to people who want to accomplish their goals.
Yeah, Marcus, I know you well, and I know that is one of the things you and I have in common is this value of service and loving to provide services to people. And in your case, I know you suffer from the curse of multi-potentiality. There are many things that you can do and do well. And I think another thing that we share is just a love for lifelong learning. And that's been evident in your career journey as well. And as you just mentioned, learning more so you can serve more people in more different ways. Why don't you tell us a little bit more and a little bit more detail about your professional journey and where you've landed for the moment?
Yeah, thank you for that. For a lot of us, our professional journey begins post-college. Some of us who are a little older, it begins with paper routes or working at a bakery across the street. For me, it was 15 years old, working throughout high school, then working throughout college, studying business. And I got my first job out of college selling building materials. Spent 5 years in the wholesale building material world. And it's just a remarkable story of how I got that job through a personal connection through the college that I worked at. And there's a fun story there that I'll tell you at some other time, my friend. But continuing on with business, I can tell you, when I was thinking about a move to Colorado, which is where I live now, I had just applied for and was offered a job at a ski resort in New Hampshire, selling their events in the Boston area. When I got to Colorado, having not accepted that job, I was applying for a job at the Navigators. The article read, large Christian ministry seeking outside salesperson for conference center. And I thought, wait a second. I'm a sales guy. I was just offered a job at a conference center, and I'm a Christian. I think this will work. And it did. So I spent 17 years working at a conference center here in Colorado in a variety of business roles. Currently, I'm using all of those investments from all of those mentors for 20 plus years. It's coalesced into this business strategy book publishing effort where I'm helping people as often as I can. Let me say it this way. There's a lot of people who have been told that they should write a book. There's a lot of people who want to write a book. It's estimated that maybe 4% of the people who think about writing a book ever actually do. So, what I do is I come alongside those people to help them accomplish their goal of not only writing their book, but bringing it to the marketplace so that their message can actually affect people's lives. It's one thing to write a book, it's a whole different thing to actually do something with it. And that's where I want to serve people, not just in the ideation stage, but in the business, sales, marketing, accounting that comes after the writing stage.
Yeah, Marcus, that's great, and I'd love for you to go ahead and as well mention the 2 conferences you have coming up this fall, because one of them is related to helping people write their books, and the other is related to helping people market their books. So just as you said, you help the full spectrum, you've got these conferences that you run, these workshops, I should say, that
Yeah,
you run for that purpose.
yeah,
Tell us a little bit about
yeah, of
those.
course. These two different events are happening simultaneously at the Glen Eyrie Conference Center in November. We have Igniting Your Writing. That's where I take writers and turn them into authors. It's a different skill set to be able to craft your words in a meaningful reading experience that's sensible. For example, most of us want to know how long we're going to spend reading a chapter. Chapter consistency is a significant part of a reading experience. Imagine watching television and one Netflix show is 27 minutes long and the next one's 37 minutes long. Like we've all been watching those television shows, binge watching, and all of a sudden we're like, this episode just seems longer. And we hit pause, and sure enough, it's 44 minutes instead of 27 because it's some sort of double episode. We know, we have intuition. So writing is one thing, reading something else. So that's the the igniting your writing is where we turn writers into authors. The igniting your book business is where we turn authors into small business owners. So in November at the Glen Eyrie Conference Center, November 6th, 7th, 8th, we'll be having this conference with 2 different tracks, one for writers, one for business owners who already have a book, so that we can all accomplish our goals together, learn from each other through small group experiences, general sessions, workshop tracks, amazing property at the Glen Eyrie Castle.
That's great. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. And I do have one of your books here, right here on my shelf. What's Next? Talking with God about the rest of your life. One of the things I appreciate about you, Marcus, is not only did you write uh, a very accessible book with practical guidance, I feel like you've taken your own advice with that book, and that's part of what has gotten you to this place with the things that you're doing now with your with the writing facilitation, with helping people become authors and small business owners with their books.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And I would say it's a lot of advice that I've taken from those mentors throughout the years. I'm blessed to have many men and women speak into my life and the humility to receive that counsel, especially when things are going wrong. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Sometime I'll have you back on and we'll just do a whole session just on mentors in terms of how to get them, what to look for. I think that'd be a fascinating topic because there are many people who would love to have some kind of coach or mentor or a network of
Yeah.
mentors and coaches to help them get through life and be successful in their business. And I think that is a critical part of the business success journey. So let's just note that for a future episode.
Absolutely. I'd love that.
All right, super. Tell me about what is most fun about your professional life right now.
A year ago, we had a couple of ladies at a local church attend one of our writing retreats. And they had no idea what were doing, but they had a vision to create curriculum for the ladies of their church. Earlier in August, my business partner Dave and we had the opportunity to pick up those books because we know where to get the best price for the best books, and it happened to be printed locally here in Colorado. So we picked them up and delivered them to the church. And to be able to watch the authors open their boxes of books, film it, talk to the husbands of these wives, these ministry leaders, and celebrate with them the fruit of their vision through the work that they did in the last 10 months. They went from November having an idea to having a book in hand in August and then starting that ministry effort in September. That's exciting. Like when we can reach into the heavens, grab an idea, bring it down to earth, and make it realized, it's just a tremendous blessing for me. So the joy that I have is inherent within helping people, seeing people have their goals realized, especially if those goals are in service to others. Like that's just how I go about my days.
And I think that is one of the joys you get to experience since you walk through the entire process.
Yeah,
You do get some opportunities to see the finished product and see the transformation of an idea come to fruition from kind of beginning of that journey to the end. So
yeah,
that is very cool. It's quite different than say in the bookkeeping world in some ways where it's, hey, we're doing the same thing for our clients every single month. Although I do try to, with Telos, I talk about your books on purpose, try to understand what the ultimate purpose is for a business owner so that there's anything I can do in the bookkeeping realm to help them get closer to achieving that purpose. So I have a similar interest in that regard, but it's very rare, for instance, for a bookkeeper to be involved in a business from conception because, uh, in most cases, it doesn't make sense for a business owner to engage a bookkeeper right out of the
no,
gate. But,
right, right.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I haven't yet, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. When
sure.
if you're curious, but on that purpose thing, I want to pick that up. There have been books written about a why, like know your why, start your why, start with why. Like there's just a variety of titles of books, and the
Mhm.
why, the purpose is critical. Even when I coach, we start with what is your book about and why does it matter? The what is really easy to define. I'm going to write a book that's science fiction, or I'm going to write a book on business leadership. Why are you writing that? Well, that's a critical understanding in order to have a successful message. But equally important is who are you writing it to, which is the reason why you and I started with the who. Like, who are we actually going to be serving? So, the purpose, we have to know that, but we also have to know the who because we can't serve everyone and not everybody needs the skills that I have. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's such an important idea is that we once we have clarity about who we are and what we're about, and we have clarity about who we can serve with what we bring to the table, it's a lot easier to define those parameters for who we serve and when we serve them and when our services make sense and when they
Yeah.
don't. And I love that freedom and that clarity. And I think that is something, you talked about mentors and coaches. That is something a coach could potentially help a business owner kind of zero in and gain clarity. And I think, I've in the past as a business consultant do vision, mission, value workshops. Those sorts
Mhm.
of things are really important in my mind because it helps give you that clarity to define not only who you are, but then who you can serve with what you bring to the table. And I agree. I think the what's the easy part. The who I am, the why I do it, and who I serve. I think that takes a little bit more
Yeah.
work to refine.
You do fit right in at our Igniting Your Writing conference because that's an analysis that we walk our writers slash first time authors through. It's brilliant.
All
You,
right,
not the
super.
conference.
Right. Yeah, gotcha. Well, what would you say right now in your business world, your professional life is your greatest challenge?
2, prospecting, time management. The prospecting world is really related to time management. It's easy to broadcast services. It's easy to invite people to consider something like writing a book or shaping their strategic message or enhancing their communication strategy in their nonprofit. It's entirely different to know and honor the fact that small business owners, authors, ministry leaders are busy. Everyone is on the hamster wheel, moving ahead as quickly as they can. So, in this world of prospecting and time management, it's less the practical aspect of those 2 things, but it's the emotional angst that comes from never really knowing where someone else is in the life cycle of their business, whether they're in a growth phase, a scaling phase, or whether they might be scaling back a little bit because of some different aspects in their organizational life.
That's speaking of where people are in their business life and, where your services maybe comes into play. Who are the people that you think should consider writing a book? Business owners or non-business owners or give us a little bit of information. Give us some of your thoughts on that.
I appreciate that question of who should write a book. There are folks in the marketplace who would say everyone should write a book and the world needs your book. I don't know that everyone should write a book and the world doesn't necessarily need your book. But what I will say is if you want to know what you think, you should talk and listen to yourself talk. If you want to know what other people think, you should listen to them speak. If you want to know what other people think, or more aptly believe, their convictions, go ahead and read what they've written. And if you want to know what you believe, take the time to write it down. Inherent within the writing process is the eraser on a pencil or a backspace on a keyboard. It's a remarkable opportunity to spend time with yourself, discovering who you are, what you believe, why it's important to you, your convictions, and then even stir up some motivation for the future. So the writing process is a beautiful process for anyone. Should you take that writing energy and turn it into a book? If you have a remarkable talent for storytelling, if you can mimic the great storytellers of our age and former in writing a screenplay, if you can inspire people, if you desire to bring about some measure of encouragement, hope, idealism to people in a broken, hurting world, man, write a book, write a screenplay, talk to people about starting a YouTube channel, get your content out there because you'll find some number of people who resonate with your heart, your story, your abilities, and they'll want to start a conversation with you, maybe even develop a relationship. And maybe that relationship is as simple as opening your emails every time they come out once a week. Should you write? Absolutely. Should you write a book? Yes, especially if the book amplifies your core message. So one of the things that Dave and I did, my business partner, but in this world is of being an independent entrepreneur doing my thing, I have strategic partners. That's why I've mentioned Dave a couple times. We decided a while ago we wanted to write the book on how to write your first book. So we wrote a book called Igniting Your Influence. We went ahead and interviewed 21 different professionals, from a two-star Air Force general to a Navy commander to an NFL Hall of Famer to a guy that spent years undercover with the Hells Angels as an employee of the ATF. And all 21 of them had a story about why they wrote their book. But their book was part of in one guy's sense, Jay's reason for writing the book called In Plain Sight was actually to tell the story. So if it was ever killed by MS-13, people would know where to look. But there are others who just write their books because they want to help people um, through the difficulties of life. But every single one of them said the reason you write a book in today's world is credibility. We assign credibility to a few groups of people. We put them up on pedestals, we revere them. Doctors, astronauts, professional athletes, celebrities, whether they're in Hollywood or Washington, D.C. And then somewhere along the lines, we put authors into that world. So if you want to sell more of your counseling services, coaching services, bookkeeping services, if you want to land on more stages, sell more books, serve more clients, man, writing a book is the single best way to enhance your credibility and claim that you are a thought leader in your defined space.
Yeah, I've even heard of it as the $5 business card.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
I
appreciate
have
you
a
saying
few.
the credibility part. Yeah.
Yep. That our Igniting Your Influence book is the best $5 business card I could possibly imagine.
All right, super. Yeah, and that's certainly something for, just from someone sitting there saying, "How do I establish myself as a thought leader? How do I get into, get on a speaking circuit? How do I get the word out about my business without it seeming like it's just kind of plain advertising?"
Yeah.
Having a book does establish that credibility and open some doors that I think, quite frankly, don't get opened otherwise, especially
Yes.
when it comes to the speaking, the invitation to be on a panel at some conference, those sorts of
Right.
things. A book can be a key marketing tool, really,
Yeah.
for a business owner.
And sometimes it's just pragmatic. We asked those 21 people a lot of the same questions, and one of them told us the story. It helped us to understand if you want the opportunity to be on a panel at an event, and there's an event planner who's been tasked by their boss to hire, recruit speakers for that panel, and they have 2 people to choose from, one who has a book, the other one who doesn't. They're going to choose the book every time because 1, they won't have to justify their decision to their boss, and 2, they get another activity at the event. They get a book signing. So it's we need to understand that people are in the business of accomplishing their own goals, whether they be booksellers in a retail environment or bookkeepers or coaches. We all want to accomplish our own goals. Those of us who would do it best are doing it by understanding that other people's goals are just as important as ours, and if we can do both of them at the same time, that's a win.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. You mentioned, speaking of books, the other kind of books, the kind of books that my team are involved in my
Yeah,
business. You mentioned you don't have a bookkeeper at this stage. We are talking about beyond your books and we're talking about your book, but let's come back to your
yeah,
books
absolutely.
and talk to me a little bit about where's your thought process about when or if you think doing your own bookkeeping becomes something that you decide you're going to outsource.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I'm currently using an online tool that's paid annually that meets most of my needs. And it meets most of my needs because I do have that business and accounting background. If I didn't have an understanding of tax credits and accounts receivable and net terms, I probably would have someone I know do me a favor and manage my books for free or get them a gift card to Amazon or something because you don't want to venture into certain things like medicine or accounting or law on your own and hope that it goes in your favor. So for me, with at least a bachelor's degree, I'm comfortable for a period of time where it's not necessarily a burden to me. Like, I love writing checks and putting them in the mail to people, especially my partners, folks that I hire, editors, proofreaders, designers. It's fun for me to write a personal note and send a check. I don't wanna give that up because it's part of my personal connection with the team. But there's a point when I get to opening a 3rd or 4th small business, or in our case, because you and I have some history, when I was creating a joint LLC partnership with a partner out of state, I sought your counsel for the best way to manage the books, the startup of the LLC, but then also understanding what paperwork do I need to file, K-1s and stuff. I don't know any of that. So it's for me, it's less time and aptitude, more wisdom. I need wisdom more than I need someone just writing checks for me. But that's because I'm a solopreneur and I like all aspects and I'm a learner. If I were if I had a background in biology and I was writing a book to help people understand the pros and cons of the theory of evolution, I'm pretty sure I'm not managing my own books. Though my wife, who has a biology degree, does actually do our taxes, which still amuses me. I just don't understand why that happens, but I let her. I love it. She's great.
Well, in full disclosure, your mother-in-law is an accountant, so you've got some family connection there if
Yeah,
you
we do.
really need
We
some
do.
help.
We get good support.
All right. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay, so let me shift gears one more time for you, Marcus. I want you to wax philosophical here a little bit. Think about 30-year-old Marcus, 25 to 30-year-old Marcus. If you could go back and give yourself advice from roughly 20 years ago or more, what would present Marcus say to young Marcus?
Yeah. Yeah.
What advice
Thanks.
would you have for yourself?
Thanks for that. I love that. Um, this first bit of advice comes from Hugh Hewitt, radio talk show host, commentator in the political realm, lawyer. In his book, In But Not Of, he said, if you want to know if you're succeeding at work, answer one question. Are you making your boss's life easier? There's angst with work, and a lot of us move from job to job to job because we don't know that our work has meaning. We don't know that we're learning anything. We don't believe we're making enough money. We don't know that we're being valued. Sometimes we're not going to get the affirmation that we need, and we need to discern for ourselves, are we making a difference? If you're making a difference in the life of your boss, then yeah, just keep staying there, keep working there, keep at it. Sometimes your boss isn't going to tell you, but if you know that you're making your boss's life easier, that's a success. For me, one of the things I learned to do was anticipate the question after the question. So when my boss would ask me a question by email, I'd know that he was going to a leadership team meeting or a board of directors meeting, and I would envision what questions would they be asking at that meeting based on the information that my boss was going to present. So not only would I give him the answer to the question, I'd also give him the answer to 1, 2, or 3 more questions that might come up at that meeting. And when you can rise to that level of making your boss's life easier as a 30-year-old, they're gonna take notice and they're gonna put you in charge or at least give you some responsibility or be the point of contact when they go on vacation. And all of a sudden, you're gonna be talking to your boss's peers and your professional growth will accelerate. I so that's one. Also within the 30-year-old self, I think that same desire to understand the success of your work through the lens of your boss, it can be seen through the lens of your peers and your customers. If you approach your work experience saying, today I'm going to make sure my coworker has the best day possible, that they know what they need to know in order to enjoy their work. When I approach my business consulting, I have a mantra: solving problems, creating joy. The more problems that I can solve for people, the more hindrances, roadblocks, stumbling blocks that they have to overcome in their day-to-day work, if I can help them overcome that, I know that they're gonna have more joy at the end of the day, and they're gonna be happier when they go home to their families. So it's not just me and my boss or even me and my customer, it's me and my coworkers. So if we can start to think about work a bit more relationally than just a to-do list, the to-do list is really important, especially if you're working part-time. Show up, be nice, serve your customers, and just do the work that's in front of you. But man, make your boss smile, serve your coworkers, attend to the needs of your customers, and work will actually be a joy.
I like that, Marcus. Not gonna lie, I'm totally gonna steal it from you, because one of my core values for Telos is joyful service,
Yeah, there
and
you go.
that's just a great line, solving problems and creating
Yeah,
joy.
steal it.
I'm totally gonna steal that and connect it to that. I mean, because it fits so well with
Uh,
that core value of joyful service.
yeah,
So,
the vast
yeah,
majority of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners, we have a problem, and that problem is the accounts. It's understanding accounts payable, accounts receivable, 1099s, W-2s, managing investments, interest. Like, there's a complexity that most of us don't want to venture into, and if we can, for a few dollars, hire an expert. Very similar to writing a book. Some of us might be really good at writing, but man, we shouldn't be editing our own words, and we probably shouldn't be designing a book cover unless we have a graphic arts degree and understand sociology, psychology, the emotions of colors. Uh, but steal it. Solving problems, creating joy. Because
that's
sometimes the
great.
problem comes external to you when you hire a coach or a small business to help you with your book or books. Hey, that was pretty good. Yep.
I love it. Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned when you're the first part of your advice to your 30-year-old self, you talked about, um, finding, part of that meaning and purpose in work of helping your boss's day be better,
Yeah.
helping your boss succeed. What is that? How does that translate when you find yourself in the solopreneur realm? I mean, you're your own boss, you're doing work for yourself. How do you how do you translate that idea of finding meaning and purpose when when you're not when you don't have a boss to serve other than yourself, and you're not typically a
Yeah.
self-serving kind of person?
Yep. I'm developing a leadership organization model that involves a follower, a learner, and a leader. And the interesting thing is followers need to become learners, need to become leaders. That makes sense. And when I say follower, learner, leader, really what I'm talking about is individuals based on role and responsibility. My greatest contribution to my work is for me to show up today and accomplish my to-do list because I'm not going to be at work the next 3 days and somebody else is going to be doing the same job as me when I'm not there. Just come in and adhere to the procedures and the policies, and life is good. So we want the part-time employees to grow into full-time employees, and we want the full-time employees to grow into leadership contribution. But one of the things that's absolutely necessary is every leader needs to follower. The Venn diagram overlaps for a reason. So as a solopreneur, I have to follow a calling that's been set before me. I have to follow and adhere to the things that are most important, the people that I care most about. I have to choose to follow my plan or take the time to discern if I need to change the plan. So, who do I follow as a self-employed person? I follow myself 3, 5 years ago when I came up with the plan, and I follow the person that I want to become. Thank you, Matthew McConaughey. So, I can see myself smiling at work because I'm doing the things that I decided I wanted to do 3 to 5 years ago, and people are paying me to do the things that I like to do, and Lord willing, they'll be paying me 5, 10 years from now to do these things and more things that I learned between now and then.
I like
So,
that. I like that.
self-leading is following in some measure.
Got it. Self-leadership. So you're following a plan or a process
Mhm.
that past you set out for future you, and present you is working that plan and process. So you have some accountability to yourself and to the plans and processes you put in place to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And for
that's
me, it's
great.
written, it's external. Sure, I keep most of it in my head most of the time. It's kind of ambiguous when I just think about it. But at any given time, I can pull up my documents, see the business plan, see the mission, see the mantra, see the list of target audiences, see the filter through which I choose to say yes or no to potential strategic partners. And I can scrutinize that and say, does this still fit for me today?
I never thought about I've thought about, strategic plans and processes and 1 year, 3 year, 5 plan kind of visions and plans to provide a roadmap, but I never thought about them in the accountability sense of creating in myself followership and a path for learning, because for me to get where I want to be, I don't have all the tools and knowledge and strategic partnerships in place to be there to
Yep.
to to achieve that future state. So it does keep me in a learner mode and a follower mode, even if it's just learning and following to fulfill the plan that I already laid out for myself. I
Yeah.
love that idea. I,
Yeah.
I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about strategic planning and through that kind of lens before, but I really appreciate that perspective.
Yeah. And I love it. Just learning and following are tied together.
All right. So you talked about your plan and you're working your plan. Give me a sense of what's next. I know you are always ideating
Yeah.
about things and opportunities. What's that next thing that you haven't told me about yet in this conversation that could be out there down the road for Marcus?
Yeah. It is true that I like to come alongside authors at any stage in the process, from the ideation stage where they need a co-writer or ghostwriter or someone to interview them and write their book, editing, cover design, interior layout. How do I get my book onto Amazon? How do I make it a bestseller? How do I get 5-star reviews? Like that whole thing is a lot of fun. How do I accept credit cards on my website? How do I build a website? So, in all of those things right now, I've settled into the routine of leading retreats, coaching individuals, writing books myself, offering those services a la carte. And I run a marketing company called Need for Speed Marketing, where we build websites, SEO, social media integration, email communication strategy. But what I'm seeing in the future, while I'm in a growth cycle, I just grow my business, more clients, more dollars each year. What I'd like to do is scale. And with these years of learning and mentorship, mentors that I hold on to today, I envision a world in which I'm helping organizations start micro publishing companies. So imagine an organization that has 5,000 employees or a speakers bureau that has 50 members. Those organizations could benefit from having an in-house publishing company where they can create the tools and resources for their individuals, speakers or leadership, to bolster their credibility and affect more change. Maybe it'll turn into revenue dollars, maybe it'll turn into donation dollars, maybe it'll turn into more speaking engagements. But with everything that I've learned, I see a path forward with micro publishing. And when I say micro publishing, it's kind of like independent publishing. We're probably in the book publishing world a couple of years behind the independent music scene, where someone like a remarkable artist like Taylor Swift can fund her own album, fund her own tour, and become a business owner of the intellectual property as well as the talent on stage. The book publishing world, because technology is moving so quickly, is just a couple years behind. There are still gatekeepers or publishing houses, but it's not necessary right now with all the decentralization and all the talented people and association of editors. You can hire professionals in every facet of the book to accomplish and publish a remarkable quality book today, doing it through independent publishing. That's probably next for me, is to scale by helping a half a dozen organizations publish 5 to 10 books in the next couple of years.
All right. That sounds fascinating to me. I love the idea of being a part of like a disruptive change in an industry that has been so, I don't want to say it's been static, because certainly self-publishing and, like you say, kind of boutique publishers, these things have started to emerge in the writing space, like they have done in the music space as well. But the idea of businesses forming kind of with in-house their own publishing house uh, to promote themselves as a marketing tool, as a professional development tool, as a way to raise money, gain profit. That's really fascinating. That's interesting. It'd be interesting to see how you convert that into a business model for yourself.
Correct.
Not just, not just something that it's going to be great for those businesses, but how's it great for Marcus?
Yeah. I'd love to do it. Emotionally, I'm all in, but I've got to monetize it at some point, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
right?
Monetize it. That's exactly
Because
the word I was
because
looking for.
I'm gonna have to stop doing something that I do in order to start doing that. That's just a practical tip for all of us. We cannot do all things for all people all the time. What am I gonna stop doing in this curse of multipotentiality? Why is it important to me? What does the old Marcus 3, 5 years ago think about it? What does the future Marcus think about it? And do I want to get there? And does it adhere to my strategic plan? And what have I learned? And how am I going to adapt my strategic plan to this new possibility because technology is moving? Let's go ahead and serve some people. That's what I say.
At the risk of opening a new can of worms right at the end of our conversation, maybe I'll just throw it out there. You can give me some quick thoughts and we'll come back to it at some point. I teach an English composition class, and you just talked about technology and writing. And so what popped into my head was AI. And I'm curious about give me your 30 or 60-second thoughts on how AI is going to impact the publishing and book writing world.
Yeah,
And maybe we'll have a future podcast on that topic as well.
of course. It's affecting many industries, and it is affecting the book publishing writing world. AI is tremendous for research, for ideation, and even polishing. One of the things that happens in the writing world is writers will get so tired at hour 200 that they will just be done with their book and hand it to an editor, and it's so messy, beautiful, wonderful. The ideas are amazing, but the words are just a mess sometimes, punctuation. Something like Grammarly can help you prevent being embarrassed, and it can also save you money because a lot of editors are actually charging by the hour, and if you can do a little bit of work with some AI to clean it up, tremendous. So we should all be learning AI so that we can get better at our core service. We can use it for other things. Should we be creating and generating new content? No, we shouldn't be using it to create art that's now going to be hung in galleries. No, we shouldn't be using it to write whole books. It lacks a soul. It lacks personality. Does it write better than I do? Sometimes it does. Does it edit better than I do? It puts a lot of commas in places that I don't want them. Um, so is it disrupting? Yes, it is. Can we work our way through it and navigate it well with integrity? Yes, we can.
All right. Appreciate that minute there, and just we'll leave that part there. Marcus, it has been a blast talking to you. It's always a joy for me to talk to you. How can
Yeah.
people get a hold of you if they're interested in, some of your services?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
best way for them to reach out to you?
Best place to start is my website, which is my name, marcusconstantino.com. You can also find me on Facebook, sign up for my newsletter, um, Twitter every once in a while, mostly Facebook, LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. It just seems more professional.
All right. And I'll have those links in the show notes below this podcast as well. Marcus, thanks so much for the time together, and I sure appreciate your insight and wisdom, and even more so your friendship. Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you as well, Mark.
Thanks for watching. If this episode sparked ideas or brought value to your journey, hit subscribe here for more insights that empower small businesses to thrive with purpose. Dive into more episodes here to keep learning, growing, and making an impact. See you next time.